In this video, let's learn how to do production completion entry. So, what is production completion entry at a single process? A production completion entry of single process in ERP, that's Enterprise Resource Planning, is the transaction used to record the completion of a production for a specific operation, process, or work order, and it signifies that materials have been processed and converted into finished or semi-finished goods for that step in your manufacturing cycle. And to know about its purpose, it's to update the system with completed production quantity to move your stock from work in progress to finished goods, that's your FG, or to the next operation. And in order to calculate your actual consumption, scrap, and byproducts, and to trigger a quality inspection or material movement automatically. So this term to be your production completion entry. So this slide consists of a bicycle, that's your finished good. So which holds your different assemblies, which will be your material requirement. That's all add-ons. So it consists of your seat assembly, frame assembly, handlebar assembly, brake assembly, accessories, so front wheel assembly, drivetrain assembly, and rear wheel assembly. So in order to do a production completion entry, we'll be picking off your front wheel assembly. So this slide consists of your bicycle front wheel assembly, where it holds the materials that's of your rim, spokes, hub at front, and tube and tire. This slide holds of your flow chart, where it consists of your BOM, that's bill of material, production order, that's in progress, and so a material request, where the material falls at draft, and so a material issuance voucher, where you'll be taking off your pending material request, and so a material receipt voucher, where you'll be taking off your pending material issuance voucher. Then comes a production completion, where falls of pending will be posting of the document, and after that you will be having a material receipt voucher, where you'll be taking off the pending, that's of material issuance voucher, and so a production order, where at final step it will be getting completed from in progress. So as a first and foremost process, after creating a BOM for a bicycle, which consists of your assembly, process, and fixing work center, where it holds the materials of your different sub-assemblies. So then followed by raising a production order in CQ, that's completion quantity type, whereas the status of in progress, and the document falls at pending production completion. In order to post the document, we are supposed to clear your material request, material issuance voucher, and material receipt voucher respectively. Then we are able to post the document of your production completion. So in order to make the production order complete, MIV has to be cleared off. So this is how the flow is going to be. And now in order to create a production completion entry, let's move on to our login page. And so here I have entered as user. So when you click on this PP and shop floor at transaction, you have your production order. And so production order is also called as a work order or manufacturing order, and it's a document used in ERP system to initiate and track the production of your FG using your RM and your resources. So as of we have created your BOM and your production order, let's search the document of a production order for our front wheel assembly by giving its production order number and give a search. And so this is a document for which the production order has been raised off. So if you see at routing, assembly, that's of process, and so work center fixing will be getting fetched off from your BOM, that's bill of material, and so a material requirement which consists of the assemblies, which consists of your assembly process, and so the followed item, that's of rim, spokes, tube, hub at front, and tire, as I told you before. So when you click on the show more, it consists of the CQ, that's completion quantity operation events. And so the status, as of now, it's on in progress. So after giving up your production completion entry and after clearing off your material receipt voucher at last, production order status will be changed to completed. Let's see the further process. So now let's move on to our production completion screen and see whether the document has been folded up there. For that, click on PP and shop floor. At transaction, you have your production completion entry, single process. So when you click on this pending icon, that's of yellow, and so here the document has been folded up, that's of your front wheel assembly, and so this is a completion quantity. So let's select the document and click on create completion process and give your location ID, and so the date where it can be selected of, and now click on OK, so that the record will be getting created, and so a material request will also be created. So after clearing off your material request, material issuance voucher, and so a material receipt voucher, then only you can give post at your production completion entry. So now let's go and watch it at your material request. So here when you click on this inventory, at transaction you have your material request. So material request in ERP system, it's a formal document or transaction used to request the issuance or procurement of materials required for your various operations such as your production, maintenance, R&D, or some internal consumptions. So now let's see whether the material has been folded up at draft. And so this is the corresponding items that's been folded up at draft. So if you see the reference, that's of material request for a production order. So this is a production order number. So in addition, we have a material request number which has been generated automatically. So still the document is on process. It's of draft. When it's been forwarded, status will be changed to entry completed, and when been approved by the approver, will be transformed to your approved status. So in order to forward the document for review and approving, let's give post, and now let's click on OK for the document to get forwarded. And so here I'm entering as our supervisor. Now click on login. When you click on this bell icon, go to your approvals, and here the document has been folded up to take up the action. So in order of that, click on this detail icon, and now let's click on approve after the review of it. So in order to approve, let's forward the document to Vimal, who's our manager. For that, click on OK. Now the document has been forwarded for approval. So here I'm entering as our approver, that's of manager. Now click on login. Now click on this bell icon, go to your approvals. Now click on this detail icon. So this is a corresponding document which has been forwarded by our supervisor after the reviewing. Now click on approve. In order to approve, now click on OK. Now let's go and watch the status at our user. So at inventory, when you click on this material request, let's give a search by our material request number, width of 22. When you click on search, that's by your header wise. So now it's been approved. Now let's move on to our material issuance voucher. At inventory transaction, here we have a material issuance voucher. So material issuance voucher is a system generated or manually created document that records the issuance of materials from store or warehouse to a department like your production, maintenance, or your R&D and so on. So when you click on this pending icon, your material request will be falling off, that's of being approved. So now in order to do your material issuance, you will be selecting a particular documents that's of your material, and you will be clicking on your create MIV. So in order to view your stock, you can click on the stock details. If you do not want this document to get proceeded further, you will be just selecting it and give a close shot. And if you have any alert, that will be passed up through your exceptions. As of now, let's create a MIV. And so where you can select your MIV date, that's of by giving a selection over here. Now let's click on this create MIV. And so material has been allocated here. So this is your document of your material issuance voucher, where you will be having a review of this document. And now click on post, so that MIV has been posted up. And so here the status has become posted, material issuance voucher. So now let's move on to our material receipt voucher. For that, you will be moving on to inventory transaction. Here we have a material receipt voucher. So material receipt voucher in ERP is a document used to record and confirm the receipt of materials or goods into the organization's inventory. And it serves as a proof that materials ordered through a purchase order or transferred from another location which have been received, verified and been accepted. So when you click on this pending icon, and now click on this pending issuance, and so the corresponding documents has been folded up here, that's of your material. Now let's select those material and create a receipt. And so the receipt document has been created, it's been issued off. So after this process, now let's move on to our production completion entry, PP and shop floor. And at production, you have your production completion entry of single process. So let's give a search by our production order number, that's of 26, and give a search over here. So the document is of wrap, still we didn't post it off. So those are the consumption items, that's of your rim, spokes, tube, hubbat, front and tire. So let's give a shift over here, that's of general, and give a save option over here. We'll be having a location ID, unit, completion date, where you can be elected off, and so the prefix, then comes your completion document number, which will get generated automatically, and so your production order number, which it comes through, and so your production order type, it's been fetched off from your production orders. And so the following items, and comes a shift where you will be electing off, and so the corresponding process, and so the operations, and then have our operator ID, operator, and so your lot number, TSA document number, and so on. So here we have our completion quantity, that's of 1, and so accepted quantity, that's of 1. If you have any rejection, that's of primary, will be given up here, where it will be getting rejected off, that's of your shortage quantity. And then we have our process starting date, and so a process have been end date along with its time. And so when you see at above, we have our generate consumption. Then we have a allocate and deallocate option. Now let's allocate it by clicking on this field. And so material allocation has been completed. So in order to cancel the document, you'll be clicking on this cancel so that it may not proceed further. Now click on post. And so document has been posted up. Let's see the status of it. And so now the status has been changed from draft to posted. So now let's move on to a material receipt voucher, where material issuance voucher will be at your pending. So at inventory, a transaction, you have your material receipt voucher. So when you click on this pending, you have your pending issuance. So here, that's of your front wheel assembly has been folded up. So let's select the document and click on create receipt. And so receipt document has been created where the status has become issued of. And now let's see the status at our production order, whether it's been changed from in progress to completed. For that, let's click on this PP and shop floor. At production, you have your production order. Let's search for the document over here. Now click on search. And so this is a corresponding document. So when you click on the show more, the status has been changed from in progress to completed. And now front wheel production completion entry has been completed. Rest of the assemblies is also likewise only. Now let's move on to our bicycle completion. So as of now, bicycle has been taken off, where other sub-assemblies has also been added up in order to produce as a FG product, that's your finished goods. So as a process of it, we have been raised a production order against a bicycle. Let's see it off. For the click on PP and shop floor. At production, you have your production order. So let's give a search by its production order number. So it's of 27, and so give a search over it. So this is the production order that's been raised off. So at routing, you have your final assembly in the work center, that's of fixing. And when it's of your material requirement, we have all the other assemblies, that's of your front wheel, frame assembly, fork, rear wheel assembly, handlebar, and so your drivetrain, brake and seat assemblies. And here we have kept it off, that's of your CQ operations, that's of your completion quantity. And now the status is of in progress. And so the ordered quantity, that's of your 200. So after creating a production order, document will be getting folded off here at your pending production completion. So before that, you'll be clearing off your material request, material issuance voucher and material receipt voucher. Now let's move on to our production completion entry. At PP and shop floor, when you click on this transaction, you have a production completion entry, that's of your single process. So when you click on this pending icon, document has been folded up here, that's of your bicycle, for which production order has been raised up. Now let's select the document and click on this create completion process. After selecting your location, give up your date and now click on OK. And so a record has been created. So before posting this document, let's clear off your material request, issuance and your receipt voucher. And so after clearing your material request, issuance voucher and receipt voucher, when you move on to your production completion entry, in order to complete it, let's give a search by your production order number, which is of 27, and give a search over it. And so there is a document where consists of your consumption, that's of your front wheel, frame assembly, fork assembly, rear wheel assembly, handlebar assembly, followed by your drivetrain, brake assembly and seat assemblies, which comes under the process that's of your final assembly. So after giving your shift, let's give allocate or deallocate, and so material allocation has been completed. So when you click on this post, document will get posted. Let's give a search and look up the status over it. And so now the document has been changed from draft to your posted. So now let's move on to our material receipt voucher. So when you click on this pending and click on this pending issuance, your bicycle has been took place here. So let's select the document and create a receipt. And so where your material receipt voucher document has been created of, that's of the status issued. And when you move on to your production order, so when you click on this PP and shop floor and at production order, let's search for the document over here. Now click on search. And now the status has been changed from in progress to completed. So when you view this document, and so this is your production order. So when you click on the show more, the status will become from in progress to completed. So when you click on this routing, you have the process called as final assembly. And so the work center is of fixing, and the material requirement, which consists of different assemblies, that's of 8. That's of your front wheel assembly, frame assembly, fork, rear wheel, handlebar, drivetrain, brake and seat. That's been added upon for your bicycle. So after completion, our FG product has been ready now. And so this is how you'll be creating a production order completion for your bicycle in order to produce as an FG. That's your finished good. Thank you for watching.